Hello from Oxford. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for today's session. My name is Alejandra de Rojas, and I have been working at Saïd Business School for over 7 years now, and I'm part of the Executive MBA recruitment team. Basically helping candidates from all over the world to successfully apply to Oxford to enrich their minds and enhance their careers. Let me share with you whilst we get some of you in the agenda for today. Next slide, please. Brilliant, thank you. In terms of today's agenda, we will start the session with an overview of the Executive MBA program. I will then share with you some information about the discounts and exemptions for the diploma students and alumni. And then we'll take a short walk through the application and deadline process. And then most importantly, you will hear from 3 of our brilliant alumni and students who have taken the pathway from the diploma program to the Executive MBA. As you can imagine, you're more than welcome to use the chat box to ask any questions, or the Q&A box, and we will answer these along the way. Next slide, please. Okay, brilliant. So let's start by giving you an overview of the Executive MBA structure. As I guess you know, it's a part-time program and it's taught in a modular format. It allows professionals to be able to balance work, study, and personal commitments while studying for a full master's degree. As you can see, over those approximately 2 years, you would have 14 to 18 week-long modules, and these modules are typically taking place from Monday to Friday, every 4 to 6 weeks, approximately. In terms of the cohort, we have 2 cohorts per year. The next one is starting in September, and the class size is usually around 60 to 70 plus students to expand your global network and build very close relationships with your former classmates. The Executive MBA is mainly delivered in Oxford, but in the second year, you will have 2 core international modules for global complexity that take place overseas, as well as some optional electives that take place internationally too. Here you can see on the slide some examples of some possible locations for you to choose for your international modules. Over those 2 years, you will have 11 core subjects that will be basically covering business fundamentals with subjects like accounting, analytics, tech and operations, strategy, etc., etc. And you will also have 1 core project, the entrepreneurship project. And this is a really good way for you to either explore or develop your entrepreneurial side, or if you're just interested in learning more entrepreneurial skills that you could apply within your organization, for example. It's very practical, and a number of these projects have been actually launched in the real world. And then in your second year, you will have 4 elective choices, and this is a way for you to be able to tailor your masters depending on your interest. And some of these electives are also joint ones with other cohorts to keep on expanding your networking possibilities. Next slide, please. Here you can see a snapshot. It's a specific picture related to this cohort. As you can imagine, those figures slightly change depending on the intake. But, well, as you can see here, basically what we want to share with you is that we attract a very diverse group of people. Class size varies a little bit, but usually you can expect about 70 students per cohort with around 30 to 40 different nationalities and 20 to 30 different sectors represented. What are we looking for? So basically, we are looking for diversity in many senses, also in terms of the sectors that we typically welcome. That could be also atypical ones, like students coming from NGOs. We have doctors, politicians, athletes, entrepreneurs. It's very diverse. And this is something that our students value, that enriches the whole experience. And it's also part of the challenge of doing the executive MBA with us. Okay, let me also, on the next slide, share with you some details about a typical timetable in Oxford. This is what you would expect. As you can see, it's going to be a very intense week. You should expect classes finishing around 7 p.m. Every week is different, but I'd rather that you keep in mind the classes could be held until 7 p.m. On Friday evening. We try to finish a little bit earlier on in order for those of you who would like to go back home, disconnect, enjoy the weekend, and be able to implement all the knowledge that you have gained throughout your week in Oxford. Other aspects to consider in person with is a difference between what you might have considered completing in a module week whilst you were doing your diploma. In our case, we offer you a variety of different subjects that you will be covering throughout the week. Could be, for example, marketing mixed with finance and operations, to give you some examples of this. And if we go to the next slide, thank you. I also wanted to mention some of the benefits of being a master's student at Oxford. One of the first decisions that you would make after receiving a place on the program is which college you would like to be affiliated with. So having a full membership to one of those approximately 15 colleges that typically open the doors to our MBAs is a great opportunity to be part of the Oxford ecosystem and expand your network further. This membership provides you access to the different facilities like dining, libraries, sometimes accommodation, and sport facilities. As you can see here as well, as an MBA student, you will also have lifelong access to the Executive Career Center at the school, and which is also included in the fee. This also gives you the chance to meet your career coach in person, online, as many times as you would like to. They can help you with everything from job search, career transition, to networking and salary negotiation skills. And they host a number of different workshops. So it's something that we would definitely encourage you to consider, as this is an optional resource that you will have from day one and beyond. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so in terms of the diploma to MBA pathway, I think it's important for you to know that you will receive both a discount in a course or course exemptions, which should not be confused with module exemptions. We're talking about courses, not modules. As I showed you before, in our case, a module week contains different type of courses / subjects. Okay, so you will be exempted from courses. To be more specific, you will receive a 60% discount of the fee you paid for your diploma of the course of the Executive MBA program. And you would be exempt from courses upon the successful completion of all 4 diploma assessments. Okay. More details. So exemptions for courses are valid for 5 years from the enrollment of the diploma. After those 5 years, you will still receive the financial discount, but you just wouldn't be exempted from those 4 courses. Okay, so it's something important for you to know. Again, still, you will be benefiting of these exemptions. You will be benefiting from the discount, but you just wouldn't be exempt from those 4 courses. All right. If you're wondering, okay, which are exactly the courses that I will be exempted from, we are more than happy to share with you more details. I would encourage you to get in contact with us. I will share with you the details later on in order for us to share with you some examples. Here I have provided an example of the diploma in global business for you to have an idea of the possible exemptions that you will get. Okay, but if you're interested to find out more, depending on the diploma that you have completed, we're more than welcome to share with you some further information. If you're wondering, okay, well, it sounds like global complexity, the one where you offer international courses, is very exciting. I would love to join, even though I have already completed a similar course throughout my diploma experience. No worries. If place is available, we will be giving you the opportunity to join any of these other courses that you could have been or might be exempted from. In this case, you will be acting as an auditor. You will not be expected to take any examinations for this one, as you would have already completed an exam for these courses. Okay, so you could be acting as an auditor if you are really keen on joining these courses in once you start with your Executive MBA program. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you're wondering, what do I need to do to submit an application? It's very similar in comparison with the application that you might have already completed for your diploma program. It's online. As you know, you will be able to create a username and a password. This way, you could start with, for example, with your CV, university transcripts. Those should be officially translated in English. As you can see, also, we will ask you for 2 professional or academic reference letters. I think it's very similar in the diploma case, where we ask you for their professional or academic email addresses, and we are the ones that will contact them on your behalf. If you're wondering, can I use the same people? Yes, you can, but they will need to write, again, a different letter related to the Executive MBA program. But you're more than welcome to use very similar documents that you might have already provided for your diploma application. As you can see, in our case, we will also ask you to consider taking the GMAT Executive Assessment or GRE test. Always highly recommended to complete it. It could add more value to your application pack. It could make it stronger. Depending on your experience, we could also consider a GMAT waiver. We are more than welcome to provide you with more details on this. And English, there's a similar scenario. You're more than welcome to take an English test, or if you're able to provide examples of your English knowledge or using English on your daily basis at a professional level, you're more than welcome to request an English waiver. Again, we're more than happy to provide you with more details, so please feel free to reach out to us for more information. As you can see as well, we will also ask you for 3 official essays based on your motivation, self-awareness, problem solving situation. And yeah, in a nutshell, that would be it. If everything goes well, the admissions team will review, the committee will review your application, and then if successful, you will be invited to an interview. All right, but we're more than welcome to share with you more information, so feel free to reach out to us for more details. Next slide, please. All right, if you're wondering, are there any scholarships available? Yes, for both intakes, yes, and I will share with you shortly also the next deadline rounds. We are now approaching the final deadline for September. I will share with you the details shortly. And we still have 3 more deadline rounds for January. So plenty of time to submit an application. Yes, there are still scholarships available. You can see some possible scholarships that we offer in those different intakes. Obviously, it's always good to have a plan B in mind. It's obviously good to receive a scholarship, but our advice is always to have a good plan B to be able to start with your executive MBA program. All right, more details about each and every scholarship will be available also if you can scan the QR code that you can see on the left hand side. All right. Next slide, please. Let me share with you the deadlines that we have for the next intakes. And if you don't mind sharing the next slide, this is one for September and the one for January. Okay. Okay. So next slide, please. Brilliant. So I think now we are ready. I can see Catherine waiting. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the real stars of this session, our alumni and student panelists. Let us start with Catherine. If you're so kind, thank you for unmuting yourself. Would you like to briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah,
Catherine?
sure. So, hi, I'm Katrin Wedekind. I'm by profession a lawyer. I joined under COVID a few of the online modules, which brought me to the diploma, probably like a few of the others or the participants today. I enjoyed that very much, although we just had 3 actual live sessions at the time. Have a bunch of friends which are still connected with and was very eager to come back. Took me 2 years and I started in January 2025, the currently still running EMBA program. I think I'm 3/4 in. So we had a wonderful run. We are in what Alejandra explained before, the electives round. So basically, I choose a number of subjects that I'm particularly interested in as credited modules, a few others as audited or subjects, wherever I can squeeze them into my usual work schedule. So I still run as a full-time employee in my company. What else to say? Things that haven't been mentioned so far that were driving me to do the EMBA were partially the membership to the Oxford Union, although currently there's a bit of debate on what's going on there, but people generally enjoy coming to the union, joining the debate wherever possible. They have also very nice libraries, and by the way, their own bar where EMBAs usually crash after formal dinners. That's another thing where we socialize. Another thing to mention is the ability to join the Oxford Cambridge Club in London. That is something that was not open to us beforehand. Several of us join other occasions with societies in Oxford. So there is like a finance society, a media society. I think our previous cohort is even going rowing once a week when they're in Oxford. So if someone is into that, that is also kind of a really good bonding technique between different EMBA members. What hasn't been mentioned as well is we met a few Yale students module before who are coming over to Oxford. We have like an exchange going on with Yale and other universities. And we spent last module in at least my group in London for FinTech AI, which is like a very well received, like long running elective where several companies explain their way into fintech and growth. So there were representatives from Revolut, from Wise, from what else was there? Barclays, and it's like very close to the actual business. So I have a financing background. There were multiple of our classmates who have either an entrepreneurial or finance background. So the exchange is very lively. Not sure what else to mention. I like my college. I'm in Kiel. I was doing the diploma in Jesus. Jesus doesn't take January intakes, which was unfortunate, but Kiel is like a very nice college for graduates. A is a big one, and they have specific accommodation for the EMBA program. So if you're quick enough in time to apply for your room, you always have like at least a financially feasible accommodation that is very modern, very nice photos. Yeah, I don't know anything specific I can say would
That's
go
nothing,
on.
Catherine. Catherine, it was just a brief introduction, but you have done a great job providing
Thank
some
you.
additional information. Very much appreciated. Catherine, I believe that the audience will be asking some further questions, but that's great. Thank you for sharing all this already, Catherine. That's amazing. Thank you. Alistair, if you want to go next, briefly introduce yourself, how your journey started at the business school, and what you're up to now, post
Sure.
EMBA. Please.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. So I did my diploma in strategy and innovation in 2014 and 2015, and then did my MBA immediately after. So I graduated from the MBA a decade ago, which is a bit scary. I still speak with my friends from the EMBA. My best friend from there, we speak every 2 weeks. He's South Africa, now lives in Netherlands, but we still catch up every 2 weeks. Our WhatsApp is still very active, and was kind of helping someone's daughter find a placement at a law firm this morning, actually. So definitely like the network, the connection is really strong. You know, the reason for upgrading was I really felt that I enjoyed the diploma program and there was a lot more that I could get out of the EMBA. And it was it was definitely the best academic experience of my life, by a country mile. The exposure, the international modules, the benefit, it got me a significant promotion. So I was able to secure, by using the Career Center, which I would highly recommend that you use if you do come. I was able to secure kind of like a double promotion jump, and joined National Grid whilst I was on the program as Vice President of Strategy, with like a 75 to 100 person team reporting to me. And since then, I've left National Grid, and 5 years ago, I founded my own company, which is a climate tech company, and we're invested in by one of the world's largest private equities now. And certainly the experiences that I had at Oxford have given me the confidence, the language, the ability to be in those rooms, where I don't always understand all the language that's being said around me, but being able to be competent and capable and able to stay in the room. The other thing I'd say, just from like an experience perspective, is I was fortunate that I lived near Oxford for my program, and you'll be a fully matriculated member of the Oxford University, which means that you participate like you're a full-time master's student. So you're not. What that meant for me is that I was able to row for my college. So I rowed for Christchurch, because Kellogg College has a joint boat club with them, or did. And so I was able to row in the college rowing, which was a big deal for me. My wife and I went to a number of white collar or white tie balls, New College white tie ball, which was amazing. We'd go to college dinners together, and it was really like I had a full-time master's experience, although I was doing a part-time and still working at the same time. So like it's an amazing program. And I think when I think of other EMBAs that I've talked to, Oxford's kind of got the program right. Like doing a week away is the right intensity, because you get to spend time with your cohort, away from work, away from family, maybe. And so you really bond and build a connection that I don't hear other people talk about their EMBA cohorts in the same way. And also the week modules work exceptionally well for the international modules. They are truly exceptional. I sat in a room in Silicon Valley with Reid Hoffman and one of the founders of Sequoia Capital, learning from them about what venture capital meant. The private equity module, although I didn't do it, I came back to Oxford to do it a couple of years ago. And that you'll hear from people from Oaktree, from Brookfield, from LPs, lawyers, GPs, everyone in the industry. I mean, the exposure that Oxford, or the reach that Oxford can bring into the room, cannot be underestimated. And yeah, I mean, I'll answer any questions as we go through, but it was a fantastic experience. And I remember I was doing one of these open days in person, and someone asked me in the class, like, is there something I regret, or is there something that I kind of feel bad about now from doing the EMBA? And my response was actually, I kind of wish I could do it again. I did it really young. I'm now the average age of people who do the class, and I can really understand why a professional at my level, at my age, at my kind of seniority would do this program, because the boost, the engagement, just the confidence it would bring you. I would love to do the program again at this stage, kind of 10 years out. Unfortunately, I've already done it, so it doesn't really make sense. But yeah, that would be my one regret. I kind of wish I could go through the whole experience again.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alistair. That was awesome. Thank you so much for your introduction. Alisa, hello, Armenia. How are you doing?
Hello, everyone. Doing great so far, so good. Thank you. I hope everyone is doing great as well. So I have graduated diploma from Strategies Innovation, just as Alastair. Okay, I hope I pronounce your name correctly. Yes, and it was like Corona time. You should imagine what kind of sacrifices I had to make, because my country was in the red list. I had to come to Oxford, be 10 days in isolation, complete isolation. So, but do not regret any single moment of that, because in the end it proved that it's worth it, and was even more than I was thinking. Actually, if I am to be short, what gave me my diploma program is that it gave me firmer legs to realize that I can claim for a more executive and international level jobs. And then I thought, okay, if from a diploma program I was able to gain this much, I can imagine what will I gain from EMBA program. So that was the main reasoning that I decided to apply to EMBA program. And the pathway was amazing, because if you apply to EMBA, obviously you don't get all those privileges when you apply right after your diploma. Now you think, okay, it's just, exemption of certain core modules or certain, elective modules. But believe me, it's a major, major, major privilege, because it's a heavy and intensive course. Okay, you have to definitely plan your time. And those exemptions just provide you a window, just, to shake yourself a little bit and move forward even faster and, with a higher confidence. So also, as a professional, I grew in non-for-profit environment for 20 years. And it was a huge risk for me to apply to MBA, because to me, all those people, right, were kind of strangers, always thinking about profit maximization. And I said, okay, let's risk it. Let's go there and see what all those people think about, like how they imagine this world, right? Because my world obviously was completely different. I was not thinking from entrepreneurial perspective. My mindset was working a little bit different. But in the end, what actually EMBA gave me is that it convinced me that even coming from a non-profit sector, actually, you can really be a valuable member in the room, because you being a third eye and having a different perspective, you actually make all those giant business executives to think a bit further rather than just profit maximization, like you see. And when you bring another perspective, it's always good, and the discussion gets much more interesting. And what I want to mention, my fear was that, okay, I can't compete with people, right, that come from different world. But to my greatest surprise, the competitive and highly level executive minds in the room, the overall environment is much more collaborative and instead of can you hear me?
Alisa, there was a little glitch. If you don't mind saying that again.
I said that, I don't know from which moment you didn't hear me, but I said that to my greatest surprise, the environment was much more collaborative rather than competitive, right? Because my main fear was that, okay, I come from a completely different sector. So all these giant, executive minds will be a little bit, pressure. But the environment is highly, highly, highly collaborative versus competitive. So basically, what it gave me, it just increased and boost my confidence level, incrementally, like really, really tangibly. So this was my one gain from EMBA. Another
Alisa, there's another glitch.
Another shift in myself actually was that by the end of the program, I started viewing this as a business investment rather than a sole academic achievement. Because we all know Oxford level, right? One of the best, and if not the best, for me personally, the best always. But besides academic achievement that you will definitely have there, right? Because the concentration of intellectual, potential there is beyond all levels, right? But it's more a business investment in the end, it turned out, because the network you gain there and the potential to solve business challenges you get in with all that international network is very, very valuable. So that's why now I look at it as a business investment along with an excellent academic achievement, because it's not easy to be an Oxford graduate, now a double graduate, but still it's achievable, it's doable, and in the end you have only benefits. I understand that it's also quite a big financial commitment, but it pays off actually for more than one can imagine, right? So yeah, this is it. And maybe I stop here, and if anyone has questions, and by the way, under my name, you will see that I am board member at Teichmann International. I just wanted to mention this. Why? Because Teichmann International IT Solutions is an Oxford-born cybersecurity company, okay? It has been implemented within the framework of our EP project, right? And for now, it's already, it's a startup and have a great potential to become a great company very, very soon. So you see that the benefits you would gain would be even tangible.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Alisa. That was fantastic. Thank you for sharing all this. I think that was very insightful. Let's see if any of our alumni have any questions. Please feel free to use either the chat box or the Q&A box whenever you want to ask any questions. And you all mentioned very interesting aspects and benefits by doing the Executive MBA program. But well, to start with, let us know a little bit more about your motivation. So you finished your diploma programs, which were fantastic, diploma in strategy and innovation, diploma in global business. What motivated you to take the next step and complete an Executive MBA program? Catherine, as you're currently doing your Executive MBA program, if you want to start with that.
I think I was very disappointed that the diploma was already finished. It's like after 3 modules, it's like I did global business, as you just mentioned. I had the feeling I was just getting into it rather than completing something. I was like some of our cohort quite nostalgic about leaving Oxford and somehow not having the feeling that we get the full picture, being only affiliated to a college, not being full member, not experiencing like all the bits and pieces that people were talking about, like the union, the clubs, and things like that. This all basically builds to the overall environment. You meet so many very interesting people. The international modules, like the traveling part, is not part of the diploma, but principally it was just like it felt like the diploma was a glimpse into it, and the EMBA would open so much more doors. So I went to the open day. I actually dragged my husband with me, basically because I needed his buy-in. And I think that was the day when he was speaking to other potential EMBAs, where it was not just me having a fantasy or kind of like an expectation or something that I wanted to have out of it, but speaking to people from his industry where he got like the confidence as well. It's like I think what many people would say afterwards is something where you heavily rely on your family, on your kind of close network to help you out in like in days of a bit more stress where you write assignments or kind of matching times, kind of shifting responsibilities back and forth. So having like a good network at home that supports you is vital. And if you bring that network along, there will be like a family day, there will be chances to bring people into Oxford. That is so much helpful, and everyone else values it as well. So basically, this combination, me wanting it plus the support from home was basically when I moved into. I was actually very reluctant going straight into January, and I had a long discussion with Alejandra on that particular evening to apply to the January model within 2 weeks. But things are possible, and if you have like these people who support you also on the letters and stuff, that is usually feasible.
Thank you, Catherine, for sharing your experience. Anyone else wants to share why they chose to the next step and start with the Executive MBA program? Alistair, please.
I mean, I really quickly, like, I always wanted to do the Executive MBA. So for me, the diploma was just a way to do the Executive MBA. I was very, I think I was the youngest person to do an EMBA at the time when I did it. And so for me, the diploma was just a pathway to engage with the school and get them comfortable that someone more junior in their career would be able to still be able to add value to the cohort, frankly. And so for me, it was always a pathway to the EMBA. And the reason that I chose this EMBA was because I remember I came to the open day for the EMBA, and Kathy Harvey, who was the dean at the time, she stood at the front of the class, and she said, in the auditorium that I know you've all sat in, and she said, at Oxford, we're looking for people who want to change the world, and they need a bit of help to do it. And that was me. That was done. That was like, I'm going to do the Oxford EMBA. That's why I'm going to do it. And I can honestly say that, it's helped me do that in my way. My business, we're about to announce about $250 million investment package into climate projects that remove carbon from the atmosphere, from mainstream investment and mainstream equity and debt. And that's something that I couldn't have done without the journey that I've been on. So I kind of did the diploma to get the EMBA, honestly. So that was always my plan.
Thank you, Alistair. So another question that kind of relates to one of our guests today, Chris Tomlinson, who has a question related to basically the college membership. What gives you access to it in terms of accommodation facilities, for example? I can read out the question for you guys. As a college member, we would have access for accommodations beyond the public bookings that have been hard and expensive to access for GD, I guess, global business diploma students. So can you share your experience throughout your college in terms of accommodation and any other additional perks as being a full member? Who wants to answer to this question?
I think I can say a few words because we're currently dealing with it. So college accommodation is not a granted thing. Different colleges have different capabilities of picking rooms or kind of sharing rooms for MBA students. As you're not a full-time student, it's like needs to be like a separate area that they don't book out for the entire year. There are some colleges who are more likely to have rooms. So people like Oriel for that one. But for Oriel, you, for example, have to bring your own linens, or they give you have a store for your own linens. On a good plus side, it's incredibly cheap. I think they charge currently under £30 a night. You have colleges like Keble, where you have, I think, 10, 15 rooms set aside for any kind of part-time program. And you have you can book them 3 months in advance. So people basically put a slot into their calendars and try to be in time. Other colleges have less facilities. I think Keble Kellogg is very short on rooms because it's just a postgrad college. But on top of that, what you always can do, and once you are part of the MBA program, you have access to sometimes like offers that the colleges give out. So let's say it's summertime, Keble is having rooms in their main building, and then you basically book via a discount into the main old classical building. Or you have the university rooms, there are some rates. So I've been staying so far in Harris Manchester, which is like a nice college around the corner from King's Arms. I stayed at Woodham, which is outside very old school looking, inside very modern. I stayed recently in Christchurch. If you can keep up with the cosplayers there, you should have a nice time. But there's a lot of tourists in that one for obvious reasons. So yeah, so I have a bunch of opportunities. Other cohort members book their favorite hotels way in advance. So it's like they have like a half a year booking at the newly built Premier Inn, or I don't remember how the new building is called that is slightly outside the SBS building. So there are like a few other accommodations available to basically students.
Correct, Catherine. Yes. So, as you said, and thank you for sharing your experience with today's guest. So, basically, yes, one option could be the accommodation provided by your college, which is typically one of the cheapest options for you to stay in Oxford. If not available, as Catherine mentioned, there are also other institutions from the University of Oxford that might be able to offer you with dorm facilities like university dorms, the link that you mentioned that my colleagues will kindly share with you shortly, as well as we will also share with you some hotel discounts in order for you, if you like to stay a place a little bit more fancy, or do a combination of all those different options. I forgot to mention, which is also important, for the global complexity core international module weeks, the accommodation is going to be included in the fee. For those 2 core international module weeks that you would have overseas, the accommodation is going to be included in the fee and organized by us. Okay, but yes, you will need to look for accommodation facilities whilst you're completing your Executive MBA program, at least for those module weeks that will be taking place in Oxford. And Catherine, thanks again for sharing some tips on how to book accommodation. You're more than welcome to ask any more questions. This is an opportunity for you to find out more about their experience, as they might have been in a similar situation as you guys. Alisa, if you don't mind, Lisa, you have been talking about Teichmann International, which kind of happen after this entrepreneurship project. You're more than welcome to share a little bit more about that. I think is something that will maybe some of our guests today might like to consider to create their own startup. Briefly, as you know, as a summary, as you know, as part of the assessment, you will be invited as the entrepreneurship project to think of a business idea, to share it with your classmates in order to recruit them, to create a team. And within this team, your new team members will need to develop a business plan, share it in front of investors, the professors, and well, in case of Lisa, like in other situations, those are opportunities that happen for you to give you the chance to create your own venture afterwards. Alisa, up to you now to share a little bit more about your experience within your
Yes. So as you know, the final project at EMBA is the entrepreneurial project, right? EP. So we call it EP, right? And then basically it is what it is. It is that people gather together within the same interests and plans and dreams and objectives, and come up with an idea, business idea that they have to develop, and until the end, right? It's a project actually, how you will commercialize your idea. And what is Teichmann International IT Solutions? Basically, it's a newly born company within a Teichmann International holding, right? It has law firm, it has executive management consultation firms. And this one is basically 5 of us gathered together. And the offer came from the CEO of Teichmann International that, okay, we are very interested in cybersecurity area and very interested to have a project, SaaS project, right, in that sector. So if you don't mind, you can join us. And obviously the sector was a bit not close to me, but obviously very interesting and actual, right? So I said yes, and then it was our entrepreneurship EP project, but a real company has been founded. 5 of us, 5 Oxford MBA students, became board members of that, and we implemented it as a EP. Obviously, throughout the practice, the EP business plan has been modified a little bit, but we took actually many things from EP project and implemented it in real life. Okay, so now we have our own product, soft, and now we are trying to make it, readiness level 8 or 9, so that we are able already to go into Series A investment fundraising period. So this is it, and I will be happy. It is already functioning, by the way, because it has also its own baby. It's a cybersecurity awareness training platform that is based on annual membership, and that is particularly developed for SMEs. Why I say SMEs? Because cyber budget to be considered is quite high, and not all executives want to spend money on that. So also SMEs usually do not have big cyber teams and very high level cyber professionals and engineers. So that's why they can use the platform to monitor their human error within the organization, and also increase their information security part with no specifically assigned experts and not a big budget, because it's an affordable tool for those small and medium companies to apply and to get membership. This is about Teichmann International. And one thing I would like also to mention is a genome that Oxford is providing, which was an amazing experience for me. I personally chose IMD, proofing, future digitalization, and it was an excellent, amazing 1 week in Lausanne, IMD Business School. So I highly recommend whenever, and basically I have graduated MBA already, and I took IMG the next year. So I think it is still possible. If you cannot, for some reason, you can't do it during your current MBA going on, you can, I think you are, and Alejandra, you can say yes or no. You will be provided a chance to do it a bit after your MBA graduation. So I did it next year of my graduation. I've graduated 2024. I did my GNAM in 2025. And also another very great thing is MBA Inspires. Very nice opportunities. I think Catherine mentioned something about that, right? But I also want to say that it's an amazing opportunity to refresh your academic knowledge, as well as to keep up with all that FOMO that you start to develop as soon as you are out of Oxford. So yeah, this is it.
I would also just say that you don't have to just look at this as if you want to be an entrepreneur, that the entrepreneurial project is kind of where it comes from. So I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. I always thought I would work in a large corporate and did for pretty much my entire career. When I did end up starting my own company 5 years ago, I literally used the exact worksheets that we did in the finance module for the first investment cases for my business, and I only stopped using them probably a year ago. After I started the company, we were acquired within a year of starting it by a major private equity called Oaktree Capital. And even for the first 3 years of my journey with Oaktree, in which they've invested about $15 million into us in growth capital to today, I've used the investment. I mean, they're very modified, but the original base from the finance module at Oxford. And it's only since we've got now into getting into the hundreds of millions and we're having to do external debt raises with banks that we've moved to a slightly different. We moved off of that template, and I recruited an investment manager who's an investment banker, and he bought his template from from Goldman, or from Allianz, sorry, where he had worked. And so like it's not just the entrepreneurial part of it. It's actually all the modules you can use in really different ways. Things you can't think about today, they'll most likely probably become relevant. And I remember when I used the model, and I kind of was surprised when Oaktree really didn't have any questions about my model. They were like, "Yeah, we understand the business. We're willing to make an investment." I remember going home to my wife and being like, "I'm really surprised that because I just took my coursework," and she was like, "It's from Oxford. What did you expect? Like, why would you think that it would not be good enough in those theaters?" And I was going, it's fair point. And so like just the quality of instruction that you'll get is as good as what you've had on your DIPSI or your diploma. Sorry, you've already experienced it. As Katrin sort of said, it's just like it's a much more intense version of that with a much stronger network, because you spend so much more time with the people and the global opportunities. They didn't have that on the diplomas when I did it, but it sounds like they might now do. But that is such a huge opportunity and such a great part of it. The exposure you get in those places cannot be substituted. So yeah, it's a program I wish I could do again. It's a program I would highly recommend, and I constantly either put employees on the program or recommend it and convince other people to go and do it. Yeah, cannot recommend it enough. And I'm going to have to drop it on time, but if you want to talk or have more questions, please just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
That's very kind. Thank you, Alistair. And I was going to ask about this career experience that you went through after the completion of your Executive MBA. So thank you very much for sharing this. Alisa, you
Yes, I just wanted to say that, by the way, many mutual, at least in our cohort, several mutual recruitments happened. Okay. And basically our CTO, Chief Technical Officer at Techman International IT Solutions, is our cohort member that has been recruited by Fabian Teichmann, who is another cohort member. So yeah, so these types of things also happen quite a lot within the cohort. Basically, they start hiring each other.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing this, Alisa. I'm conscious of time. Please, guys, if you have any questions, please let us know. Otherwise, I have to ask any additional questions that I think that might be interesting for you. For example, Katrin, you are currently completing your Executive MBA program. Well, and the rest, Alistair and Alisa, what has been so far, or what was, you would say, the most interesting experience that you had whilst you were completing your Executive MBA program?
Well, it's hard to pick one, right? So we went last December to Vietnam. We were in Ho Chi Minh City. Amazing hotel, amazing time. We've met a lot of companies there. So apart from people who from scratch basically taught themselves how to make chocolate, to real estate developers in a country where you can't buy ground, to what else did we see? Escalator companies, like fully facilitated training centers. Like basically, you have to anticipate that you're exposed to topics that you would not have thought you might be exposed to, that you find terribly interesting. The fintech I've already mentioned. I have a wedding invitation to a Shinto shrine in July from one of our cohort members. So that's another thing that we're doing. When we have these international modules, people start to plan around the module. So we did not just go to Vietnam. Our Chinese colleague invited us to come over to China. We visited Shenzhen. It was like just mind-blowing what happened there. It's like slightly outside the module, but it would never have happened. Well, 1, 2, 3. It would have never have happened if we didn't have like the combination. So we went from Ho Chi Minh to Macau. We have a colleague who is based in Macau, in the old town. We had a look around the old town, not just the casinos. Casinos was fascinating, but there is a large history as well. Went from there to Shenzhen. Part of our guys took time off to have a month of a travel around Asia, where the guys who went to Peru went for a surfing trip. Apparently had the most amazing food experience. The guys who go to Palo Alto will have another round trip the US, because we obviously have tons of US colleagues who are based in not just in New York, but in different places. Basically, you combine so much work. We have on our list to go to Georgia. We have a fixed group that will go to Davos next year. So Oxford is always present in Davos, apparently. So we were last year short notice, this year a bit better planned. So I just see it as a gateway to like a way more interesting life than you can imagine at this stage. And that's not just a job.
Brilliant. That's amazing. Katrin, thank you so much for sharing all this. It sounds very exciting. I'm just being conscious of time, as I want to share with you guys a very last slide before I go ahead and share this. From Alistair, Alisa, Katrin, I would like to hear if you would have one kind of recommendation, advice for them. Remember that you were in their very similar position, thinking of should I complete an executive MBA? What would you advise them? What would be your recommendation?
If I can just quickly, because I've got to drop, it would be that the financial mountain that it feels like at the beginning feels, I mean, I remember it feeling insurmountable and just it something that would just be unachievable, frankly. And somehow through will and through desire and a bit of work with my employer, I was able to make it work. And on the other side, it did not look like the size of mountain that it did at the beginning. And it was entirely worth the investment. I hit all of the financial objectives I had for, what my salary was hoping to be for. I was able to triple my total compensation package through my time at the University of Oxford, and it was completely worth it. So don't let that put you off, as challenging as it may look, if that is looking challenging. The program is incredible. It's the best program that I've seen in the world. And yeah, it's only gotten better since I did it a decade ago. So I would take the plunge if I could do it again. But I've got to drop. So please, thank you. And if you want to talk, I'm available on LinkedIn.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alisa.
Yes, actually, I would like to say that use the network actively from the very, very beginning, because some of the most valuable outcomes, come from the people and long-term relationships that you build. So go to all dinners, go to all gatherings, go to all after-party funs. So basically, because you have their conversations that actually then take, legs and arms, and in the end might even be very, very great opportunities for you to move on professionally.
Thank you. That's great. Catherine.
I only regret I haven't taken it earlier. But other than that, rely on the fact that the cohort will be amazing. I was like, that's regardless from which cohort you're in, that's what I hear from people always. And you learn so much from them, and basically your connections with these people. If your gut feeling tells you you should do it, definitely go for it. You won't regret it. I don't think so. I don't know anyone who did.
Catherine, that's very kind. Thank you. Well, being cautious of time, just quickly, let me share with you shortly. My colleagues will share with you one very last slide where you will be able to use the QR codes provided in case you want to submit your CV for review, book a call, or, well, we have some upcoming events online, in person, all around the world. So you're more than welcome to join and to find out more about what the Executive MBA program can offer you. Remember that you would be still in time to submit an application, as we still have final deadline round coming up for September and 3 still more deadlines for January. So, well, feel free to reach out to us if you happen to have any more questions. Thank you once again to our lovely panelists today. I think the session was very insightful. This has been recorded, so we will be sharing with you all this video recording afterwards. And thank you to my wonderful team as well, who have been also helping behind the cameras with all the questions that have been asked. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you might be in the world. And please reach out to us whenever you want to find out more about, well, the possible experience here in Oxford to do your Executive MBA program. All right. Well, take care and see you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.